A University of Florida coach is in the hot seat right now, accused of alleged sexual misconduct. We're going to take a closer look at what Title IX paperwork says about the head of the basketball program and how he is responding to it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. So the head coach for the University of Florida men's basketball team, Todd Golden, is facing some very serious accusations right now. And this comes as the university student newspaper breaks the news that there is a Title IX investigation into him. And now Golden is on the offensive, or maybe the defensive, because he wants to know what his options are for a defamation lawsuit. So he wants to fight back. But let's talk about this. 39-year-old Todd Golden came from San Francisco, took the top spot at the University of Florida in 2022. The Independent Florida Alligator, this is the student newspaper on campus, they reported that the university was investigating Golden for sexual misconduct allegations. The Alligator also said that it had corroborated the allegations with two former students. The paper obtained a copy of a Notice of Allegations and Title IX investigation, and it states, on September 27, 2024, a formal complaint was filed with the University of Florida Title IX office alleging that Todd Golden engaged in conduct that might constitute a violation of the UF gender equity policy. The UF interim Title IX coordinator filed the formal complaint based on a report that names you and a current UF student as potentially impacted persons. Although you did not initiate the formal complaint, you will be considered a complainant in this matter per the applicable Title IX regulations. Now, before we dive into the allegations against Golden, I think a fair question would be, what is Title IX? Well, it is a law that we hear referenced a lot in cases that involve school districts and universities. And what it is a federal law that, of course, has a lot of specific rules and regulations, but at its core basic level, it prohibits sex discrimination in educational programs and activities that get federal funding. It was signed into law in the 70s by Richard Nixon, and it states, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation and be denied the benefits of or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And since then, there have been a lot of updates to the Title IX, adding new information to the statute as well as some exceptions. But this Title IX complaint was reportedly filed against Golden on September 27th. And according to the allegation letter, here are the claims against Golden made by at least one student at the university. Sexual harassment and or sexual exploitation, including making unwanted sexual advances via social media, requesting sexual favors, sending photos and videos of his genitalia while traveling for UF, stalking, including on more than one occasion taking pictures of women walking or driving and sending those pictures to the subjects of the photos, on more than one occasion photographing women's cars in various locations and sending those photographs to the subjects of those photos, on more than one occasion showing up to locations where he knew the women would be, stalking or cyberstalking, including on more than one occasion attempting to engage women by liking their Instagram photos, waiting for them to read the notice, and then unliking the images to avoid detection. Now, the University of Florida hasn't commented on this, saying that under federal law, schools cannot comment or even confirm whether there's Title IX inquiries, complaints, or investigations. But Golden himself has spoken out. And he wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Saturday, for the last month, I have actively participated in and respected the confidentiality of an ongoing school inquiry. I have recently engaged Ken Turkle, a Florida attorney, to advise me on my ability to bring defamation claims while this confidential investigation is going. My family and I appreciate the support we have received and remain confident the university will continue its efforts to finish its review properly. By the way, we checked out Todd Golden on TruthFinder. This is a powerful background checker. So we typed in his name, location, and pulled him right up. His criminal history, according to the site, only shows a traffic citation for speeding in Arizona back in 2014. But Law&Crime, we partner with TruthFinder. We use it all the time to get details on the people involved in our stories. But even if you don't work in true crime, this is just an excellent resource to give you some peace of mind. It's one of the largest public record search services in the United States. And in fact, with a paid subscription service, you can get access to unlimited reports about almost anyone. And so if you're interested right now, you can get 50% off of your first month of confidential background reports. You just got to go to truthfinder.com/LC Sidebar. Now, Golden coached actually on Monday night in a game against Grambling State, and reportedly He received a standing ovation during his pregame introduction, and he told reporters, "I thought it was great. I thought the fans were as usual, and obviously during the current circumstances, I appreciate it." And when asked what he would say to his female fans, Golden said, "Obviously in this situation, due process and to continue to support you guys, and I just would hope that they would allow the process to take place and see where it ends up." Now, in March, Golden signed a new contract that included a raise and a 2-year extension through the 2029-2030 season, bumping his salary up to a little more than $4 million a year. But remember, this is the third time that there were serious allegations that have been made against a head coach since Scott Strickland took over as athletic director at Florida 8 years ago. You might remember that the women's basketball head coach Cam Newbauer was forced to resign in 2021 after there were allegations he abused players and staff members. Then, not even a year later, Strickland fired women's soccer coach Tony Amato after the coach's comments regarding the players' bodies and what they were eating. So I want to break this down, and I'm joined right now by Florida sex crimes attorney Andrea Lewis. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate making the time. What do you make of this, and how do you think it might play out?
Good morning, Jesse. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is really a concerning situation, and we have the allegations, which on their face appear to be coming from multiple different women, specifically students at the school. So obviously, if this does turn out to be true, that is not a good look for the University of Florida. And it's certainly something that we can imagine would have very serious ramifications. But let me point something out. As you just noted, many of the allegations alleged by these women are all based in various forms of technology, right? We have the text messages being sent back and forth, allegedly, the nude photographs, the stalking on social media. So all of those things are going to leave some type of an electronic trail, which should be fairly easy for investigators to take and determine one way or the other whether something happened here. So I suspect that although this investigation will play out and probably take some time, the investigators probably already have a very good idea of whether or not there are any truth to these allegations.
Are we talking police getting involved, law enforcement, criminal charges, prosecutors, anything like that?
That depends. It's going to depend on the nature of the allegations. It'll depend, of course, on the age of the people that these photographs were allegedly sent to. If there was allegations of any sexual contact, are the women making allegations that this was forced or coerced, things like that. But all in all, it's very possible that you could see a law enforcement involvement. It's also very possible that it could end up with simply either sanctions or some type of administrative penalties against the coach himself.
But taking such an aggressive defense, saying I'm hiring an attorney, I'm now going to look at defamation actions. I've always wondered that people who are accused of serious wrongdoing, why don't they just turn around, if they're really innocent, and just turn around and file defamation actions? And so the fact that he might be doing that, what does that tell you?
Well, it's a great point, Jesse. And here's the thing. So Title IX offers protections, various protections to the accusers. They want people to come forward when they have something that happened to them, especially on campus. So there are protections for them, but there are exceptions. So for instance, if those accusers turn around and are saying things that are not true or making accusations to the media, to friends, to other third parties, those are certainly open for a potential defamation action if they're not true. Now, of course, the key to all of this is an absolute defense to any defamation action is whether or not the statements are true. If they're true, then there would be no basis for a defamation action, of course. So that's really where the rubber meets the road here. If what these women are saying is true, a defamation action is likely not in the cards here, and I can't imagine an attorney would take that case.
Let me ask you this. Call me cynical, I don't know, but the fact that he seems to be a very popular coach, I think his record is 42-29 in like 2+ seasons. He's got a really good roster of players. He just signed an extension. Do you think that is influencing this investigation at all, this Title IX investigation?
It's possible, and we certainly can hope that it's not. And here's the thing: I mean, those are outside influence that, on their face, shouldn't have anything to do with whether or not he did or did not do the things that he's accused of. Now, will that somehow play in, or will the university take that into account? You'd certainly hope that would not be the case, especially with something this serious. But as you mentioned, I mean, he certainly still has the support of the fans, as we've seen here from what they're reporting from this recent game. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Are you troubled by this, what seems to be a pattern? Let's say these allegations against him are true. And I mentioned Cam Newbauer. I mentioned Tony Amato, all under the athletic director of Mr. Strickland. If these allegations against Golden turn out to be true, what do we do then? What does the university do with respect to its athletic program? Because this seems to be a disturbing trend.
And that's the last thing you want in an educational institution, is any type of trend of sexual harassment or any type of sexual misconduct. So at the time, the university really needs to start at the top and work its way down and say, what can we do as an institutional change here that will prevent this from happening again? Is it better supervision? Is it retraining? Things like that? Is it addressing this head on with the coaches or the players, telling them, listen, you need to come forward if you're seeing any indication that this is the case? All of those things really need to be looked at and analyzed, because I would imagine this is the last thing the University of Florida wants to be dealing with as well when they are, in the middle of a season. And so they need to, and I'm sure they will, take this very seriously and look at how they can fix this so it doesn't continue to happen in the future.
Andrea Lewis, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.